Take your marks.
You're listening to the Pool Boy World Championships podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Pool Boy podcast as we look forward to the 2025 World Swimming Championships, which will take place in Singapore in just a few days' time. Steve here, Bob and Katie are on board as usual, and we're going to run the rule over the British team and their chances at those championships. The entries, Bob, came out just a few days ago, and we got the first chance to see what everyone in the British team was swimming, and the thing that leapt out, obviously, was the fact that James Guy had got the nod in the 200 free after his tie with Duncan Scott at trials. Well, I mean, we don't know anything about how that decision was made, but it's...
No, and personally, I would like to know that. What's the big secret? Did they toss a coin? Did they talk about it? Did Duncan say, look, I've got other events, whereas James wouldn't have an individual event? Did it come down to that? I'd quite like to be a bit transparent about it. So there should be no great secret. James has got an individual event. Duncan's got other events. You know, gives James a chance to be involved on his own in something in the program, maybe. But, you know, it's all been kind of cast in a bit of a cloud of mystery, which I don't think is good for anybody particularly.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, it would be nice to know the decision, but I think, Katie, it's hard to you know, feel bad about James Guy taking a 200 free spot 10 years after he won the world title and swimming, you know, his best times ever still. So a chance for him perhaps to finally get that 144 point that he's been chasing.
Yeah, and he's so close. I mean, I think I was surprised because I was expecting to see Duncan in that slot, you know, rightly or wrongly. But you definitely can't begrudge it. But James, he's been a real trooper, and we've seen him, you know, give up individual spots for relay swims before. And I think he's got as much right to this spot, hasn't he, as Duncan? So it'll be good to see what he can do.
Well, he will go with Matt Richards in that 200 free. Matt, obviously, Bob, at trials was pre-selected and did a sort of kamikaze effort where he went out like a maniac and paid the price at the end. So we haven't really seen him at his best this year. But you'd like to think both of those guys can make the final in that event. And then
yes, you would. And also the fact is, a bit like we talk about James, like we talk about Duncan, we've got so many big time performers, and Matt comes into that category as well. That, you know, they save their best performances for Olympics, for World Champs, for Commonwealth Games. The big event is when they really perform, when they really come to life. So I'm expecting Matt to make a final, and hopefully James too. But Matt certainly, and I think that was kind of a free hit for him in London back in April. Want to see how it felt, and I imagine he was still suffering that a couple of days afterwards. But good to see what he could do and play around with it a bit. Why not? You know, when you're already pre-qualified, that's the time and the place in which to do it.
Well, indeed, and he's got something to live up to. Obviously, he was the world champion 2 years ago in 2023. I know we've had another world championships in between, sort of shoehorned into Olympic year, but he's a notional defending world champion and obviously Olympic silver medalist last year as well. So we would like to think that he could repeat that and find his way to the podium, and hopefully James will get that 144. Now, Katie, if both of those men are on form, that would be a big boost to the 4x200 freestyle relay. Obviously, we've mentioned Duncan already. He will go in that, I'm sure. And Tom Dean was also pre-selected, and with Jack McMillan also going along with Evan Jones to make up that squad for this year's championships. But I don't think I think we're in a slightly unusual position this year, in that maybe they're going to that meet not as favourites after what the US guys did at their trials. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, I think that is the case. I mean, I think with Luke Hobson in the US really, really moving that event on, it's a strange event, isn't it? Because it has largely sort of stood still for the past few years. And we've seen Popovic looking like he's the one who's going to make that big move. But it hasn't quite happened yet. I mean, we've obviously seen him do that incredible 142, but we're not down by that world record yet. And it has all been very much around that 144 low, probably largely for the past few years. And we've seen Hobson now go 143 and closely followed by a number of his other US teammates. And I think that probably does put GB, probably not as favourites. Now, I don't know what that does to the team. Maybe that really spurs them on. Maybe that's a really nice position to be in. Or maybe it takes the pressure off. I don't know. But I think, we'll certainly have to be at our best if we want to be on the top of the podium as we've got used to being for the past few years.
And I think possibly the big question, whether they'll do that or not, will be the form of Tom Dean, won't it, Bob? Because he had that big break after the Olympics. We've not seen him at his best. I mean, he was very upbeat in London and really happy with where he was. And now he'll also have that medley swim. He's doing the 200 IM in Singapore, having said he wasn't going to swim individually. So he's obviously confident about his physical state at the moment. But that really could be the kind of the leg that swings it.
Well, it could be, but also bear in mind that the US quartet's quite untried and untested. At a big meet, it's the first time they will have collaborated in a big meet. So I would still, because of the experience in the two Olympics, etc., with our quartet, I would still have the marginal favourites, despite the fact that the Americans did what they did in America. I think when they come together as a quartet for the first time, it might be a bit different.
Well, we do know, obviously I've spoken to them all a lot this year about that relay, and I do know that they really like competing against those American guys, and there's a lot of kind of respect and a few friendships between the lot of them. So I'm sure that will be a great race, as it has been the last couple of years. But fingers crossed that the lads can get it done again. Now, Duncan Casey, he'll be busy on relays, of course, but he individually gets to focus on the 200 IM. Leon Marchand, obviously, in that starts as a favourite. He's been a bit injured, I think, and maybe not swum as much this year as we might have expected, but starts as favourite. But Duncan, he's a big meet performer. He loves racing other people. I think he'd be fancying the podium again.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's a funny one. So I don't think Marchand is in the same form that we saw him in last year, and I don't think we can expect that of him. He's been trying out training in a few different places. I think it's been not necessarily the most consistent year of training, and he's been injured, as you say, and he certainly hasn't looked in the form that we saw him at any point in the last couple of years when he's raced, and bearing in mind that's been limited so far this year. The US also have an interesting competitor in Shane Casas, who looks really exciting, but I think has a little bit of a reputation for not necessarily delivering when everyone hopes that he's going to. It does seem that there's been quite a change there, so I think he might be an interesting one to watch this year. But, Duncan is consistent, and Duncan does perform when we're expecting him to perform, so I see no reason why that should impact Duncan's chances of being on that podium. He's obviously going to have a few other competitors. It's not just the three of them, sadly. But I think those will be the main ones to watch.
Well, we'll hope that Duncan can keep his run of medal winning going in Singapore. Someone who will be hoping to start a run of medal winning at the World Championship level, Bob, Ollie Morgan. He was super impressive at trials, 52.1 in the 100 backstroke with a slightly ropey finish. He's ranked number 2 in the world heading to Singapore, but I mean there are some very fast people around. Clement Kolesnikov will be back as a sort of neutral athlete, and Thomas Chacon and Hubert Koss will obviously be big contenders in the 100 backstroke. But Ollie, he looked terrific in April, didn't he? And there's more to come, you'd think.
Yeah, I think there's loads more to come, and also I'm always excited from our medley relay point of view as well, because it's always been the leg that's been the kind of dodgy one, the one that's never quite reached the heights we wanted it to. He is now in a position to give us the great lead-off that we want for the medley relay, potentially. Obviously not so much for the World Champs this year, but looking forward for the years to come. I'm impressed of his progression last couple of years. Doesn't seem to get phased anymore. Seems to have worked out the right kind of race strategy, the race pacing and everything else now. I think he's well on stream and well on the course for something quite hopefully impressive and hopefully quite special in Singapore.
Well, I spoke to him at the AP meet at the end of May, and he was all very relaxed about everything, and said his preparation was going well. And Katie, I know you felt at trials that with a better finish he could have got close to the world record, but
yeah, I got very overexcited at trials and seeing that swim. I hope all's well. Obviously, he didn't swim at the Seti-Colli meet, and we don't know why that was, but hopefully all is well and he's fit and ready to go, because I think a fit and happy Ollie Morgan could be a really, really exciting person to watch at Worlds.
Well, he will go in the 50 and the 200 backstrokes as well, and I think he should be capable of making finals in all three. But obviously, the 100 probably his best chance at the podium. He's got Johnny Marshall with him in the shorter ones, and Luke Greenbank still going, Bob, in the 200s, and he was fairly upbeat about his state at the trials as well.
Yeah, in a way, because of what we just mentioned, that Ollie's not done a lot of racing recently, I'd like to see him just concentrate on his two main events, quite frankly. I'm not sure the 50 is necessary where he needs to be right now. So I'd like him to put his eggs in the 100 and maybe 200 basket. And Luke, big meets, as we said, world champs and Olympics, invariably performs, and hopefully he will do this time.
Well, he had a bit of a disappointing time in Paris, so hopefully he can bounce back this year, because he did look in great shape. Fingers crossed for him. Right, Bob, you mentioned the medley relay. Obviously, Ollie is a big plus for that. The breaststroke leg, we're in a bit of a transitional period. Obviously, Adam is taking some time out again, and maybe is finished with 100, but we're on to looking for who is going to come through. Now, we've been bigging up Max Morgan as the next big thing, but we've just seen a big breakout from Filip Nowacki at the European Juniors. He swam very fast over 200 and really good 100 as well, and some very good relay splits. So he's kind of thrown down a gauntlet to Max, who's just a similar age, and hopefully Max can do something similar in Singapore.
Am I right to say that's the most exciting swim of the year from a GB point of view?
I think it's certainly up there. I think you might argue that Ollie and Angharad, but yes, I know that. But you look at, we've been saying for a while, okay, Adam, we didn't think he'd do another Olympics. Looks like he will, because the 50 is in there now. But we need a PT substitute. We need a replacement for Adam in due course. We've been going, come on, we've not got anybody under 60 seconds right now, and we hadn't at that stage. And then Philip comes along and does back to about not only 100, but in the 200 as well. So we've now got somebody who will do the 100 and 200 with quick times. So I think that's the probably the most excited I've been for an individual swim in 2025. Well, I mean, Max is doing the 50 only individually, just the way that the A and B times fell out for Singapore. Greg Butler will do the 100 and 200. He was the winner, obviously, in the 100 at trials, sub 60. So he'll be looking to move those times on, I'm sure. But it'll be interesting to see how Max goes in that 50, and if he gets an opportunity in maybe the relay heats or something. Casey, one of our most consistent performers, will go in the 50 free and the 50 fly. Ben Proud, he's won medal at basically every championship he's been to since the Tokyo Olympics. He's ranked surprisingly low this time round heading into this meet. He's only I think 12th in the world in the 50 free, but I mean that reflects more the fact he was pre-selected and didn't have to turn up at trials in his absolute best form, doesn't it? Because he's just ridiculously good at that event and super consistent with his performance.
Yeah, I think I've never seen a hairy Ben Proud before trials this year. I think there's plenty more to come. It wasn't the normal, it wasn't the normal Ben Proud sort of fully tapered and shaved and ready to go. So the fact that he's managed to be ranked 12th in the world at this stage, after not showing his cards, I think is not a bad sign at all.
Well, I mean, the 50 fly, I think he said, was a bit of fun, Bob, but it'd be good to see him competing again in that 50 free. I mean, there's some fast guys around, but he'll be right up there.
Well, I looked at the 50 fly, and I can't believe he's ranked 30th in the world right now. That's probably because he's not done it, has he, this year, I don't think.
Just at trials, yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of where he is, but he won't be. I will be very surprised if he doesn't make semi-finals of the 50 fly at least, and the final of 50 free. So yeah, never any concerns for Ben. So I'm looking forward to him performing like he always does at a big event.
Yeah,
hopefully Cam McAvoy will be really exhausted because he's just had a new baby. So fingers crossed.
Well,
actually, I don't think we need our fingers crossed for that. I think Ben's got it.
okay, well, we will see. We'll see whether Cam will be good, because he'll get some sleep being away at the World Championships. Who knows? But
also the time zone's better for him as well. But there you go.
yeah, there we go. We will see. I mean, the team's out in Thailand already, so I think they'll be well acclimatized to the time zone by the time that comes around. But yeah, it's all these things have an effect, don't they? Just before we leave the men, Katie, we've been thinking about the men's 4x1 for a few years, where they've threatened to do something in that event and pick up a medal on the world stage, and they've never quite managed to put it together. We've got a new face in this year in the shape of Jacob Mills, who carved absolute sways off his best time at trials to go 48.0 and come second. He gets the individual as well, alongside Matt Richards. But is this the year that the 4x1 can finally kind of all do it on the same day, do you think?
I'd love to say yes. I'm really excited about Jacob Mills, but I'm not as excited about this team as I have been perhaps over the last couple of years. And I think it's just off the back of seeing other trials and seeing, other countries sort of having multiple 47s and sort of 47 lows. And that's quite far in the distance compared to what we saw at our trials. I don't mean our trials were bad, and we did have quite a few guys bunched up in that 48 low, but that's still quite a distance away from a 47 mid, 47 low, and several of those. So, I mean, it's not a bad team. I just don't think I have that really optimistic we could win this feeling like we have had, and obviously that's been slightly over optimistic in previous years, but it doesn't feel like this is our strongest year yet, but it also feels like we've got potential for the future in Jacob Mills, which is exciting.
Yeah, it'd be good to see what he can do. He seemed to taking it all in his stride at trials, so hopefully he can keep that sort of level head going up a level to World Championships, and we'll see what he can do individually and in those relays. Bob, Max Litchfield, quick word on him. He's back again. 400 IM still going. He narrowly missed out, didn't he, in Paris last year?
Yeah,
but he should be in. You think he's going to be in that spot again, wouldn't you? Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to beat Marchand? Probably not. Is he going to beat Fink? Probably not. So we're looking at, again, Max for top three. I'd be amazed if he doesn't make the final. And he has worked very hard on the individual strokes that aren't quite strong for him after Paris. Let's see whether he comes up with the rewards and the kind of the influence from what he's been doing since Paris a year ago.
I don't think he'll have to face Bobby Fink. I think he decided not to do the 1500 400 IM double on the last day of the trials. I think Katie Ledecky gave him some stick for not taking that on, but I don't know and see why you wouldn't. Let's be honest, Katie. It sounds like your perfect double.
Oh, sounds horrific.
Anyway, I don't think you'll be doing that.
It would take me about 5 hours, I think.
But regardless, Max hopefully will be in that podium battle in that event. One final member of the team we've not mentioned, or two in fact. So Jack McMillan goes in the 400 free, which I think is possibly a chance to give him a hit out before the relays. And Ed Mildred goes in the 100 fly, 200 fly. I'm really interested to see what Ed can do. He took a big step forward at trials after a quiet couple of years, after a very successful junior career. And his move to Manchester seems to have reinvigorated him. So fingers crossed he can move his times on again in the 100 and 200 fly. And again, that will be a benefit to the medley relay if he can do that as well. Right, moving on to the women's team. And Katie, this is something I don't think I didn't think I would ever be talking about. We have the world number one in the women's 100 metres breaststroke heading into the World Championships. I mean, that's remarkable when you think about it. Angharad Evans, number one in the world. Tough race, but she's got to be in with a great shot of the podium.
I hope so. Yeah, she's having such a great year. She seems remarkably relaxed about the whole thing and about, in general, how quickly she's improved, how quickly she's found herself one of the best in the world. And she's actually, all she's done is just added another event where she's also right up there as the best in the world in the 200, which is really, really, really exciting. I don't think she was ever really a 200 breaststroker growing up, and she's just taken absolute chunks off her best time this year. So I think that's really exciting. It's one of those events, the 100 breaststroke, that is always really close. I think she finished something like zero point 0.2 outside the podium at the Olympics, and she was fifth or sixth. So it is a tough one, and those tiny points do matter. So it's about nailing that on the day, but that's not really something that she's had a problem with so far. She has been a performer at the big events, and that's not necessarily a given.
Well, indeed, and we spoke to her obviously at the start of the year, and we asked her whether she had a time in mind, and she didn't want to tell us, and then sort of dropped that she was thinking about going 64, which would be quite incredible if she was capable of doing that. But Bob, she just seemed very relaxed about the whole thing at trials, taking it all in her stride again, and she just seems to have it, if you see what I mean.
She does have it. That's the whole point. She does have it, and I'm looking at, she's 105.37, the British record now for her. Why is a 104 out of the question? She's got to knock about a third of a second off that. And I would not put it past her to knock on the door of the 219 in the 200 either.
Well, let's hope so, because both of those would definitely put her in that medal conversation, and she's certainly capable. So fingers crossed her preparation since trials has gone well. I mean, she was good in Rome at Setacoli, so things seem to be on track. So looking good for her heading to these championships. Someone else who was good at trials was Abby Wood. She was right up near her best in the 200 IM, took the 400 IM on and swam a PB there as well. Now, this is a really interesting event, Katie, because we know, we can be as certain as you can be in sport that Summer McIntosh will win that event. And then there's probably Alex Walsh, the favourite for the silver, but there's no Kate Douglas, no Sydney Pickram, no Kaylee McEwen in that event this year, all of whom were in that event in Paris, in the final there. So it looks like it's Abby, Mary Sophie Harvey from Canada, and Yiting Yu from China, who are all really close together in that battle for the bronze, notwithstanding that someone could come from a way back. It's a really great opportunity for Abby this year, Katie.
Yeah, I do think it's an opportunity there. I think we've got Abby and Mary Sophie Harvey, who have been so close in the past to getting on that podium in different events. I think Mary Sophie Harvey seems to sort of change her lineup every major championships, but I think she's finished fourth in every single event at the Olympics that she's ever competed in, and will be keen to rectify that. So, but Abby's been knocking on the door of that podium for such a long time, and I think she can do it. I think there's also an interesting competitor from the US in Phoebe Bacon, who's typically been that's a great name, 200 backstroker, but this time is qualified for the 200 IM, and knocked a massive chunk off her best time at the US trials. So I think is another one to watch. But, Abby's in brilliant form, seems really happy and confident this year, which I think is a great way for her to be entering a World Championships. I'd love to see her do it.
And I think in Paris, Dave Hemmings, her coach, and Abby herself felt that she perhaps could have swum a faster time in that final, maybe not enough to get on the podium, but they elected that she was going to go with the race, go with those sort of stellar performers at the front, and just see what she could do. And I wonder, Bob, if maybe they'll come up with a different plan this year, and maybe swim for a result rather than just to get in the race.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've thought about the strategy. They've talked about the strategy. They've gone through it. Obviously, with the IM, you've got all component parts in there that can be altered, changed, nuanced a little bit. And I think that's what they've done subsequent to Paris, is look at that and go, right, okay, let's break that race down again. What suits you best, and how can you then deploy that in your heats and your semis and your finals? So I think they have worked on that. I think the different portions of the race have been maybe analysed much more assiduously maybe this year, and I think she will put that into place and put it into practice in the heats and the semis of that.
I mean, I think one thing we do know is that they've been working on her 200 free, and that's obviously a benefit for the end, but also bringing the 400 IM back in, Katie. I wonder if that's with a view to kind of increasing her endurance for the end of that 200 medley.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are obviously some really, really strong finishers in that medley, and she can be one of them. I think that's a real area of weakness for Alex Walsh, actually, who I think was leading up to the breaststroke in the Olympic final and then just got absolutely mown down by Summer McIntosh and Kate Douglas last year. But we know what a good freestyler Abby is. I think she could have swum the 200 freestyle at this World Championships if she'd wanted to. She can finish that really strongly, and they're adding the 400 IM to her lineup, which is not an easy thing to do, but that can only be helping that endurance.
Indeed. So fingers crossed for her. While we're on the subject of the 200 freestyle, Freya Colbert, she won that event at trials 155.7, I'm going to say, something like that, but she was only a couple of tenths off the British record that's stood since 2009. Bob, Joe Jackson set that back then. I know Freya holds that record in high esteem, but she was talking about possibly being, having a go at it this summer. I mean, she looked great at trials with that swim. She could do it.
Yeah, I think so. She's right on the cusp of doing it, and see how she looks in the heats. But I think semi-finals, maybe we'll look at the semis if she makes that, and that's where that British record could go.
No, hopefully she can do the business there. She goes in the 400 IM as well, but would do well, I think, to make the final in that one, and then we'll see what happens. Obviously, fourth in Paris, so we know that she can be competitive. The other end of the distance spectrum, perhaps, Lauren Cox. She got selected, perhaps, I think, looking at it now, as a result of the change in the Olympic programme to bring the 50s in, although maybe they might have taken her for the relays anyway. But 50 back, she won the bronze in 2003. She was a bit non-committal about 2023. That's the stuff I've written down 2003 here, which is why Rob is pulling me up on that. She won the bronze in the 50 back in 2023. And she was kind of non-committal about whether she would focus on the 50 or keep going with the 100 at trials. But she set a British record in the 50 back at the AP meet, 27.15. If she can do that again, Bob, then she'll be well in the conversation for the medals.
Yeah, and hopefully she will be. It's a little bit of a crapshoot, that 50 back. With look at the entry list, she'll be in amongst them, and certainly with her recent form, why not?
Well, we'll wait and see what she will do, and then maybe that will inform where she goes with her career in the subsequent years. Another sprinter, Katie, that will be looking to see what she can do. Eva Acaro didn't perhaps give us what we expected at trials in the 100. It felt like she had a 53 point in her and just fell a little bit shy at the end of a long week for her. But we would like to think, especially after her world junior record in the short course 53, that there's more for her to give at these championships.
Yeah, I don't think that she's a pure 50 swimmer. I think she's got a really good 100 in her. And yeah, I think we were a bit surprised that we didn't see a 53 at trials, but hopefully we'll see it this time. I'm sure it's in there. I'd quite like it to happen before she goes and has a little bit more of a yards focus next year when she goes to the University of Texas. So it'll be great to see that, and she'll be in several relays as well, I'd expect. So hopefully we'll have plenty of opportunities to see what she can do.
What's your feeling about the women's 4x2, Katie? I mean, they were good in Paris. I mean, they won silver in 2024 at that funny World Championships. They've been sort of getting there. Obviously, they've got a really strong opening leg if they send Freya Colbert off first. But how are you feeling about their chances this year?
I suppose the difficulty is that it's not made up of that many 200 freestylers. Like, Freya Colbert is a 200 freestyler, but she's also good at lots of other things. We've got Leah Schlossum, is that how I say it? Who's coming in for her first senior GB team, and it's always interesting to see how people react to that situation, because it is really pressured. It can take people a few swims to get going, and she doesn't have a few swims. This will be her swim. I assume we'll have Abby swimming it, who is a great 200 freestyler, but obviously, as we discussed, her main chance lies elsewhere. And probably Freya Anderson, who we've seen has had a little bit of an off year so far, but is hopefully back to form. So it's quite difficult to know exactly where everyone's going to be. It doesn't feel, again, like our strongest year, but it does feel like the component parts, potentially everyone doing their best could be decent. I think it's always going to be, at the moment, the US, Australia and China are just the front runners by an absolute mile, and everyone else is making up the final. I want to see us in that final. We absolutely should be in that final. If we're sort of putting our eggs in that basket, it might be that we don't do that because focus is elsewhere. But I mean, I think we'll swim it. I just don't think it's going to be anything, probably to shout about.
Well, Lucy Hope obviously in the squad to provide cover for that relay as well, and perhaps give one of them a morning off. But hopefully they can put a decent performance together. A couple of other names in that women's team: Katie Shanahan, 200 AM, 200 backstroke. She was focusing a bit more on the 100 backstroke. She told us this year when we spoke to her last year she was going to focus down. She did win that event at Trials, but is not swimming it this summer. I've been saying for years that she's going to break the British record in the 200 backstroke. Maybe this will be the year that I'll finally be proven right. I mean, a stop clock is right twice a day, Bob, isn't it? But 200 backstroke.
Well, ranked 7th in the world, 2 per nation. So why not? I mean, she's certainly, in terms of time, expected to make a final, and she's another big race swimmer when she's in full fitness. So why not? And
a new swimmer in that event, Holly McGill. Casey, she's kind of made her way through, beat Honey Osrin at Trials to get that second spot. So exciting to see what she can do.
Yeah, I do think she's exciting, and she seems also kind of quite relaxed about it all, and has been steadily improving, and taken a lot off her best time in the last year. So I think that's interesting, and I think that's going to be a competitive event in the UK for the next few years, especially if we've got Honey on top form coming back. We'll have Holly, we'll have Katie. The three of them always going for 2 spaces is going to be competitive. So, which
hasn't been for quite a long time, has it? Let's be honest, that's not been the strongest event in our program for a while.
No, we've had a little drop off over the past few years before this, so it's really good to see us getting back down to that 207, and then hopefully to see that record go. It's just always nice to see us moving an event on. I think part of the strength of the record is how good we've been at that event in the past, but we always want to just keep moving things on, don't we?
Indeed we do. Now, the last 2 ladies with individual events are the butterfly ladies. Emily Richards, great to see her back in a senior international team. She was looking more like her old self at Trials. And Kiana McInnes will go in the 100 and 200 fly. I think both of those ladies, Bob, would like to make the final of the 200. The 100 might be a bit tougher for Kiana, but she was very good in that event in Paris. Some finals in the 200.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm looking at these records from Ellen Gandy still being on the books from 2009. I'm going, come on. I think it's only Rebecca Adlington's 800 free that's been on there longer. Needs to go.
Yeah, that would be 2008. So, that and the 200 back we've just been talking about, one of the other ones from 2009. So, it would be nice to see someone get back down to those 57s, wouldn't it? 57 low. But we will see. Hopefully they can make the 200 final at the very least, and we'll see where it goes from there. Now, we've talked about the British team. Undoubtedly, there will be a lot of very fast swimming. I mean, it seems like for a post-Olympic year, Katie, that this that swimming has been extremely fast this year. Certainly, we've mentioned her already. Top of the list of people who've been swimming fast is Summer McIntosh. I think we can be fairly sure she's going to win a hat full of gold medals at these championships, but she set a load of world records at Canadian Trials. Do you think that was when she was going to swim her fastest, and maybe it's all about the medals this summer, or is she going to crack a few more world records just for good measure?
I think it's quite interesting because she's had a bit of a trend over the past few years of swimming her fastest freestyle races at Trials, and potentially her fastest 400 medley, but then dropping back on time a little bit when it comes to the major event, but dropping a shed load of time in the 200 fly from Trials to main event. So I think it will be quite interesting to see how she does. I think over the past few years, I don't think she particularly enjoys the pressure in the 400 free of racing Titmus and Ledecky. Now, she'll be racing Ledecky this year, but not Titmus. So I think that might make a difference to her. We'll also see her in the 800 freestyle. I think she's entered in it. Whether or not she actually swims it which will be really interesting because I think we've only seen a couple of head-to-heads with Ledecky, one of which I think has gone McIntosh's way earlier this year. The 400 medley, I mean, you could hang the medal around her neck now. To be honest, she's 10 seconds ahead of anyone else in the world this year, which is absolutely obscene. Like, it's ridiculous. She's just taken that event to a whole new level. World record in the 200 IM, getting down to that ridiculous shiny suit record in that 200 fly. I'd really like to see that go. So hopefully she can continue the trend of dropping time in the 200 fly and take that record down. But yeah, I mean, we don't get to see something like this that often, so I think we should enjoy it while we can.
I was going to say, if she drops a load of time on 200 fly, then she will break that world record. She was really close to it at trials, and as you say, that was a ludicrous record from 2009. But yeah, we will watch her with great interest. I mean, the other thing, Bob, that I picked out as something to watch, given the results of the European Under-23 Championships, where a certain David Popovic was very, very fast, 46 point in the 100 free and a 143 in the 200 free. He's very good at swimming outdoors in Europe in the summer. Can he do it in Singapore?
Do you remember what happened when he broke the record in Rome, and then the next time he did a World Championships was nowhere near it?
Exactly. I mean, that's the puzzle, isn't it? Can he repeat the feat in Singapore, and he'll be back up against Pan, who set that a ridiculous world record in the 100 free in Paris. And we haven't really seen much of him this year to know how fast he will go, but that should be an exciting race, and hopefully the British boys can get themselves in amongst it to some extent in the 100 and 200 free as well. But anything else that you're looking forward to, Bob?
I'm looking forward to seeing, obviously, some emerging names, because what I like about World Champs is we talked about some of the Americans. There'll be I'm sure some Germans and some Italians that will come through. So it's on the longer distance events anyway, and in kind of marking our card for what we're going to see in the next 4-year cycle, because a lot of people have either retired or not maybe as good as they were going into Paris. So it's always the emerging names and the new faces that we're going to see always interest me.
I think you're right about the men's distance freestyle, certainly. I mean, we've mentioned Casey Ledecky and Summer McIntosh showdowns, which will be exciting, of course, but the depth in the men's 8 and 15 is ridiculous. I mean, I can't remember which way around they came now, but the guy who came third at German trials was something like 14:32 or something crazy like that, and it doesn't even get to swim.
That's moved on so much. Sadly, obviously, we don't have a representative in any of those.
No, and that is a shame. But we can enjoy the races for what they are. Nonetheless, it would be nice to have a Brit in there, wouldn't it? But there we go. How are we feeling about predicting medals? Do we want to stick our necks out, or are we just going to let it ride and see where we go?
Oh, I haven't even thought about a medal count, to be honest.
No, neither had I, which is why I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I think where I am is it's difficult to know where everyone is in their training. People have had breaks. We don't know whether everyone is going to be right up there. I think we've spoken about them already, that we've got 3, 4, maybe 5 really good medal chances heading into these championships. But I think if we were to come away with somewhere in the region between 5 and 8, which is where we've been over the last few Olympics and World Championships, I think that would be a really good performance. I don't think we'll be pushing Britain's best ever, 9 from 2015, but I think somewhere in that range would be achievable, and would be a good performance from the team if they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was sort of thinking around about 5, 6 would be great. There's a lot of I think that's the exact point. Post-Olympic years are weird. It's really hard to know where everyone is. I don't think we got a real sense of where everyone is at trials, and that's probably the case for an awful lot of nations, particularly those who had trials a little bit earlier in the year. We've obviously seen like the US and Australia have them slightly later on, and you probably get a little bit more sense of where everyone is with that. But I just don't think we know. I think also we've got a slight blind spot because we've got the neutral athletes coming back in. And that will make a big difference. There are people, there's, for instance, the I can't remember her name, sorry, the Russian breaststroker who will be competing this year, 200 breaststroke world record holder,
chicken over.
Yeah, who we haven't seen, like we just haven't seen on the world stage for the last few years, but has to be a factor, a big factor in the women's breaststroke events, 100 and 200, but particularly 200. And I think that makes it very difficult to predict.
Interesting also to see that the statement was made that Chinese and Russian athletes or swimmers have been tested more than anybody else on the world stage recently.
Well, I think that was the case heading into Paris as well, wasn't it? And you know, the fact that it's been released, the information has been released, I think is more interesting than the fact that they've been tested more than everyone else. Because, you know, after what happened last year, you would like to think they would be testing them more. But I think it's preemptive by World Aquatics to let that information out now, isn't it? Rather than have everyone speculate wildly about what may or may not be going on. You know, in that regard with those teams. So we can only take it at face value, can't we? The Aquatics Integrity Unit is doing what it has to do in light of the information that's out there. And we will see in future, no doubt, if that is well placed or not. Anyhow, I think that is a good time to draw this podcast to a close. Katie, Bob, thank you once again. Always great to chat things through.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
I should imagine we'll be back after the meet to have a look at the British performance and any notable swims that take place in Singapore. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch, you can find me on social media at Poolboy on X or at Poolboy UK on Instagram. Go to poolboy.co.uk/contact if you want to drop an email in. There'll be all sorts of stuff on my Instagram leading up to the Worlds, a few more bits and bobs from various interviews through the year that I've been doing. And if you haven't already, then you can get yourself in the mood for the men's 4x2 by watching the film I'll be making this year, called 4x2, of course. You can find that on poolboy.co.uk/4x2, all in words, or on my YouTube channel. Just search Poolboy on YouTube. We'll be back with you after the World Championships, but until then, thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Poolboy Podcast. For more episodes, visit www.poolboy.co.uk/podcast.